A new year brings new stories both nationally and locally. To kick off our first broadcast in 2017, we'll take a look at how the slow decline of bees is affecting a small community like ours. Later on, obesity is on the rise, and a new addition to SCHS schedules is longing for a positive effect. And finally, we'll see how a local organization and student are impacting the lives of many. I'm Katie Novak, and the Beaver Backtrack starts right now. Hello, Scott City, and thanks for tuning in to the Beaver Broadcasting Network. Our reporters are starting off 2017 with a wide variety of specialty news coverage. First up, bees. For more than 10 years, researchers have been noticing a steady drop in the population of honeybees. External forces such as climate change and the loss of habitat are largely to blame for this decline. Molly Eikenberry brings us more on how this global issue is affecting the local area.
Bees play a crucial role in the world we know today. Without bees, we wouldn't have trees, flowers, or even grass. Bees are responsible for almost 70% of all agricultural fertilization. This is an annual $200 billion industry, all caused by bees. I had the chance to talk to local bee farmers Ron Hopkins and Bill Guerin to discuss the rapid bee decline over the last few years and how it could affect our community.
I think the reason that the bees are disappearing is the use or neglect of the chemical companies.
Upward of $15 million has been put annually into research from our United States government as to why our bees are dying. There are many guesses and reasons, but nothing can explain the mass destruction of our bee population.
This Israeli acute paralysis virus is linked to the colony collapse disorder that you've heard has been happening with the bees disappearing. They leave the hive and they can't make it back.
This CCD, or colony collapse disorder, is linked to many reasons, including the chemicals our farmers spray on their crops in order to kill weeds and parasites.
Weeds out in the fields. So one of the problems with the reason you don't see as many bumblebees or butterflies and the honeybee is declining is because all the herbicides and pesticides combined. When they go out and kill all the native flowers, there's nothing left for the bees or butterflies to get their nectar and pollen from. So it's a real struggle.
What happens when a bee comes back to the hive infected? Well, lots of times it affects the entire hive. The disease spreading from one bee to another until the entire hive has died. This has become a huge problem for beekeepers like Bill.
Doctors, and I'm talking about that have their degree in bees, those that have millions of dollars worth of equipment have tried to figure this out.
While there are other pollinators, like butterflies and moths, there is no comparison between the two. Bees are driven by the fact that if they don't make their honey, they and their queen will starve.
This worries me for the future of not only beekeeping, but the future of agriculture, because 2/3 of everything that we eat is the bees are responsible for pollinating in one way or another. If we lose the honeybees, we lose a lot of food. The prices on food will be going up, what food we can get, but there won't be anything to feed us. It'll be a bad situation.
Hopefully, with a little more research and a little more rain, our bee problem will buzz off. This has been Molly Eikenberry reporting for the Beaver Broadcasting Network.
This shift to our economy is unbelievable. Whether we realize it or not, bees play a large role in many aspects of our everyday lives. And now, a different kind of change. This year, faculty at SCHS decided to introduce advisory periods to student schedules. Once a week, a 25-minute period is set aside to, in theory, help improve the study skills of high school students.
Behind every great school is an amazing faculty willing to do anything in their power to help students rise above and beyond. For students to succeed, second-year principal Brad McCormick put in place advisory periods to teach students life skills.
Advisory periods are times for kids to have more connections with some teachers, to have those conversations of what they're struggling on, what they might need to work on, even to the point where what can we do to help you.
Most teachers agree that there is a lot of progress to be made to make advisory periods an effective program in the future at SCHS. Rebecca Downing, third-year algebra teacher at SCHS, explains how difficult this process can be for both teachers and students.
I think right now we're in the trial stages of advisory. It's not, most students don't like it because they just see it as a study hall. Right now they're like, what's the point? Well, we're not sure yet. We're trying to build this, and we know how to work advisory. It'll really come together.
Students of Scott Community High School don't agree with the advisory period, saying they are, quote, a waste of time and that there is no need for them. Mr. McCormick explains to these students what the staff needs from them to make this a prosperous program.
To those students, they've got to be fully invested too, and that's going to take time. We're just trying to give them some options. They've got to have some buy-in, and me just saying buy-in, that's not going to probably do it. I get that, but as we go along, we're going to find out what works best for our school.
From the Beaver Broadcasting Network, this has been Macy Burning.
But if we don't change, we're not going to evolve into something better.
Advisory periods evidently will take warming up to, but the faculty at SCHS is willing to do whatever they can to better their students. Yet, the betterment of our students doesn't stop there. When members in Scott Community consider the idea of the Booster Club, many associate its organization with the sale of Beaver apparel, although this club is a vital aspect for all school-sponsored activities.
As the population at Scott Community High School grows, so does the number of students involved in extracurricular activities. The Booster Club supports all groups at SCHS and encourages youth to become strong leaders for the betterment of our community and society. I sat down with President Linda Tilton and Vice President Becky Novak to get a better understanding of what the Booster Club really is.
The Booster Club is a group of volunteers, parents of kids at the high school that want to help enhance the activities, the sports, any activity up here at the high school.
What we do is help distribute funds to the kids in athletics and the activities in the school.
This year, the Booster Club received donations from a multitude of businesses and individuals. The amounts reached as high as $1,000 and were then distributed accordingly.
Each sport and activity gets a set amount in our bylaws depending on how many kids are in that group. It's just set on a rising scale of how much money each group gets, and that goes straight to them automatically at the beginning of their season. And then we have special requests, and that's groups and activities that come to Mr. Huck and they have something special they need, an extra piece of equipment.
Recently, our cheer squad, music program, and track team were a few of the many who directly benefited from special requests. Alongside of these, the Booster Club has contributed numerous other items that support different groups greatly.
Some of the things that Booster Club has sponsored for activities and athletics in the past have been, we help fund the seats in the gym. We provide hospitality bags for our athletes as well as teams that travel in. We've bought in trash cans for the tennis courts, tents for the track team.
We've bought special equipment for the football team, for the weights program, for music clubs, for the band.
Last year we really focused on trying to not just do athletics, but look at some of the smaller clubs that needed some assistance. We were able to get a new quiz bowl machine for quiz bowl. We also bought cheerleading mats. We got new podiums for the band.
The Booster Club hosts meetings every second Thursday from 12 to 1 p.m. at the Wheatland Broadband Center. If you are a parent of a child at the high school, they would love to have your input. Varying groups at SCHS have been very fortunate to have such a favorable organization and are thankful for their support. From the Beaver Broadcasting Network, this has been Miles Hare.
We just have one goal, it's just to help out, fill in the gaps up here at the high school where funding is short and where programs need a little extra help.
Thank you, Miles, and thank you to the Booster Club. Without you, many of our activities wouldn't be as successful as they are now. Now over to Studio B, where Clarissa will bring you up to date on all things sports.
I'm Clarissa Ratzlaff, and this is Sports for the Beaver Backtrack. As winter sports are in full swing here at Scott Community High School, I will cover the latest for Beaver basketball and Beaver wrestling. To start off the month, the Beaver basketball players traveled to Southwestern Heights right before returning to school from winter break, both coming home with victories. For the next two league battles, the Lady Beavers won against Ulysses and Holcomb, but the boys' team fell short. On the 19th, the Beavers traveled to Colby for the annual Orange and Black tournament, the boys taking 5th and the girls bringing home 7th place. Both teams won against Lakin on the road to conclude the week, and the Beavers faced another league matchup, the boys defeating the Goodland Cowboys while the girls fell short. To end the month, the boys brought home a victory against Cimarron, while the girls fell short. In terms of Beaver wrestling, the young team has had a successful year so far. To start the month, the team traveled to Norton, ending up with 5th place. The team came home with a victory in a duel against Oakley the next week. The annual SCHS Wrestling Classic was scheduled for the second weekend in January, but due to expected weather, the meet was canceled. The next weekend, the wrestlers traveled to Lexington, Nebraska, where they ended up with 5th place as a team. Wrapping up the month at the Rocky Welton in Garden City, Junior Jarrett Juergens was a champion at 152, Junior Wyatt Hayes placed 3rd at 160, and freshman Caden Wren was in for 3rd and 4th, but he was unable to wrestle due to injury default, resulting in him receiving 4th place overall at 126. That's a wrap for sports in January. Once again, I'm Clarissa Ratzlaff for the Beaver Broadcasting Network.
Thanks, Clarissa. Our athletes are working hard, and we are excited to see what's in store for them for the rest of their seasons. And now, on to a more national level. Donald J. Trump was sworn into office on January 20th, 2017, as America welcomed her 45th President of the United States. BBN's own Cody Rogers received the opportunity to see the inauguration firsthand. Much controversy has resulted due to President Trump's victory, and Cody brings us different standpoints from the inaugural address.
Together, we will make America great again.
He's our president now. Not really who I would have picked, but his success is our success.
Trump, great man, gonna turn America around. 19.5 trillion in debt? Are you kidding me? We're gonna drop that.
I didn't want him to be president, but now that he is, we need to respect that.
We need to drain the swamp and build the wall.
I have a terrible, terrible suspicion that it will not be good for the next 4 years for anybody, believe me.
Primaries, I was really heavily for Bernie, and Trump's policies are the closest to Bernie's economically.
I hope he becomes a president for everyone, not just the majority. Either he's going to prove us wrong, or we will learn from that.
As one interviewee said, his success is our success, and we wish him the best of luck. Just as the president is the head of the country, the mayor is the head of the town. 7th graders at Scott City Middle School were asked, "What would you do if you were mayor?" This annual contest allows students to have a direct look at the roles and responsibilities that are associated with being mayor.
What would you do if you were mayor? These 7th graders got asked the same question and participated in the annual competition held by the Kansas League of Municipalities. Gail Irwin, the 7th grade English teacher, helps the students write their essay.
So what we do is we have the mayor come talk to our students either around the middle or end of October, and they ask questions of the mayor, and then they write their essay. It has to be less than 250 words. And then once they've been edited and look good, we just email them in.
If I were mayor, I would make Scott City greater than it already is, says 7th grader Kale Wheeler. The 7th graders gave this a lot of thought, and Mayor Dan Goodman says that some of the ideas have been used before, but why are these students encouraged to participate in this annual event?
First and foremost, it's probably to engage our youth in government at a young age.
They learn that the city will listen to them.
It was a way to recognize young people that had some interest in local government.
That they can go to a city council meeting at any time and voice their opinion. And it's good for them to listen to the mayor and realize that the mayor doesn't have as much authority as they think. They're a good face of the community, but they aren't like the king of the community.
By having the mayor talk to the students, it helped the students recognize their responsibilities as members of the community, and that all opinions do matter. Everyone in the public is allowed to contribute in making the town a better place for all. Mayor Goodman not only thinks it is important, but really enjoys the essay project.
It is. It is absolutely one of the most enjoyable things I do.
This has been Yami Sanchez reporting from the Beaver Broadcasting Network.
I remember writing my mayor essay, and it's great to see this tradition continuing. Up next, who doesn't love a slice of cake or a pretzel from the concession stands? Unfortunately, these high-carb snacks are adding to a pandemic that's been sweeping the nation.
It's no secret that in the past 30 years, the number of obese children in the United States has been seriously increasing. Carrying extra pounds doesn't just affect your clothing size or the number on the scale. Obesity infects your entire body, your heart, your joints, and your blood. This pandemic has been closely measured since the 1980s, and the data shows that this is a deadly problem.
I think really if you look back, 20 years, I think some of the stats show that back in 1980, 5% of kids were obese, and now about a third of kids 0 to 19 are obese. So it's really become a big problem.
But why, and what's being done? In 2010, Michelle Obama championed the Healthy Hunger Free Act, the first program to change school lunches in more than 30 years.
We make sure every student has a half a cup of fruit and vegetable, can't have too much sugar, and then as the years go by, then they'll lower the sodium levels each year to where we meet exactly the guideline where they want it to be.
Although this is what's required to be on the plate, it's not always what is eaten.
The challenge is that the kids fill up on something else, later on to make up for a smaller meal.
Diets are only part of the problem. Nationwide, physical education classes are getting cut and recesses are getting shorter.
Kids who are overweight tend to be adults who are overweight too. So heart disease, diabetes, arthritis would be the other big problem.
Medical expenses from obesity-related issues totaled $190 billion last year, 21% of all healthcare costs. Annually, 300,000 people die from obesity and obesity-related issues. Over the course of this video, 2 people in the United States have died from this preventable disease.
In fact, medical experts are predicting that this generation is on track to have a shorter lifespan than their parents.
This has been Cody Rogers with the Beaver Broadcasting Network.
Looking inward stops at you, but opening our eyes to a global standpoint can change the lives of many. At the beginning of the month, a group from Scott City traveled to the country of Haiti for mission work. Porter Irwin sat down with Hayden Nevels, the youngest of the group, to discuss his trip and the impact they made. Due to the graphic nature, viewer discretion is advised.
On January 6, 2017, Hayden Nevels along with 16 other people left from Manhattan, Kansas to Port-au-Prince, Haiti. During their 10-day stay, they performed many surgeries on the Haitian citizens that needed it most. Today, we were able to sit down with Hayden Nevels to talk about what they accomplished while there.
The surgical mission. We went there to help people that were in need, and most of the people there obviously couldn't afford an actual hospital bill. So we went over there and did a lot of surgery for free. A patient came in and he was in a car crash. And the thing was, it wasn't a recent car crash, it happened in September. And we were there in December. So he went in, all they did was put in the metal bars, how they do in the arms to make the brace of the bones heal. But after that, they just kicked him out. And he was malnourished, he was, really close to dying. So that was I could really remember that because he had a lot of diseases too, so we had to, full surgical attire, gown, gloves, We had like 2 masks on, the scrub hats, all of that. It was memorable because it was a really bad case. When we first got to Haiti, we landed in their capital, which is Port-au-Prince. And from Port-au-Prince, we drove about 3 hours to go to the compound, which is not even like a town over. It's just, you know, like dirt street over, pretty much. We went to an orphanage, so we had to go through, I wouldn't even call most of them towns, villages. A lot of it were huts. So we just cut through. So really, Port-au-Prince, the compound, and then the orphanage.
So while you were there, what were you actually able to help with?
What I did personally was, the first few days was all that we did was surgery. So obviously I have no actual medical background. So what they started me off with is called an autoclave. And that's pretty much just like a giant machine that makes steam. And so I individually packaged every single utensil that they used in surgery and then ran it through that machine probably for a good 4 or 5 hours every day. After the first 2 days, they actually let me be they call it a circulating nurse. The circulating nurse stays in there and they are not sterilized, so they can go open up the cases and then they can't touch the utensils, but they can like kind of hold it in between the packaging and then give it to them. So that's what I did for the most part. And then the last day, they actually let me make the incision and then help with the actual surgery. So I was cauterizing wounds, and they actually let me stitch them back up.
What was the most common reason people came to you for care?
The most common reason was thyroid glands. And so that's a lot more common in women than it is in men. And so their thyroid would be like around here. And usually, you know, it's about, I don't know, around the size of a grape. A lot of people had size of a fist. And so that was a really, I'd say 8 out of 10 patients we saw were because of their thyroid glands. Personally, I saw usually 5 or 6. The overall trip, we only actually worked in the compound for about 3 days, so around 35 people.
This has been Porter Irwin with the BBN Channel 12.
From bees to overseas and donations to inaugurations, our reporters are dedicated to keep you in the know. Tune in next month for more newsworthy coverage from your favorite station. I'm Katie Novak, and this has been the Beaver Backtrack on the Beaver Broadcasting Network.